What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Mike on Fire. We got a little special episode for you guys today. But first and foremost, before we even get into details on what we're going to be talking about tonight, can you please take yourself to our social media platforms, Twitter, IG. Twitter, we have our sports and culture page, which is S3 Culture. And then you can find our Mike on Fire podcast page at Mike on Fire Pod at Twitter. You can also go on IG and follow us at Productions, as well as subscribe and like all of our content on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. So without further ado, joining me today, you have a couple of guests, two returning and one new, not so much to the platform, but to this specific podcast itself. Without further ado, Tim, welcome back.
What's good, Dean? Good to be back.
How you doing, bro?
Man, listen, just taking it day by day. That's all.
Per usual. You know, the intros are usually the same because ain't shit changing on a daily basis.
I know. It's crazy.
Right. Joining us again, we have our audio guy and editor, Jarrett. What's up, Jarrett?
Good. You know what today is? Do you know what today is?
What's today, sir?
It's Taco Tuesday. So you know the vibes. Make some tacos tonight, my guys.
I never have tacos.
I completely forgot, man. I ain't.
So you made tacos?
I made tacos tonight.
I ain't have a taco. I need a Taco Tuesday. I ain't have Taco Tuesday in a minute.
Yeah. And then joining us today, special guest. He's actually been on our sports and culture platform previously, but joining us for the first time on Mike on Fire, we have our boy Jalen. Jalen, how you doing tonight?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for having me again. It's a pleasure.
For sure, bro. You know,
Always, bro.
We're always seeking knowledge and the appropriate people to bring on for certain conversations, and I feel like you definitely fit some of the stuff that we feel like we should be touching on that's going on right now. So
appreciate it.
Without further ado, before we even get into any of these serious subjects, I know you're a big sports guy too. So the Jordan documentary, finally, The Last Dance, just wrapped up. We haven't talked to you about that. Do you have any feelings towards the documentary?
I mean, a lot of people, like, they got some takeaways where they feel like Jordan, it took away from his legacy, but I mean, I'm still buying Jordan's. To me, he's still the GOAT. There's really nothing in that documentary that made me like question his greatness.
And just out of curiosity, what exactly have you been hearing as far as how it's been negatively affecting his legacy?
I mean, the ongoing debate about him and LeBron. People like, oh, this proves that Jordan was a weak player, and not a weak player, but he played against weak people. The league wasn't as competitive as it is.
Gotcha.
And I don't know. I feel like that's not true. I mean, like the fouls, looking at how the bad boys in Detroit was playing, man, like, and today, like that won't happen. I mean, even like Reggie Miller and how Jordan and Miller were going at it, like it's crazy now. I mean, I feel LeBron's great. He's like the greatest right now. So I'm not gonna take away from that. But I do think he's a softer player than Jordan. And
Sir.
I feel like his mentality, like with Jordan is like be losing in the game, and he'll be like, "Oh, I'm going. Like we're gonna win. Like I'm gonna will us to win." I don't feel like LeBron has that kill. I don't have examples, but I watch games where it seemed like LeBron just like kind of quit, and he didn't really have that motivation to like really go out there and get it.
Yo, I just gotta say this: Jordan's the only man I would allow for somebody to call me a hoe. if LeBron James called me a hoe, I slapped the shit out of him. There ain't no way I'm allowing another grown man to call me a hoe mid-practice. That's not happening.
Nah.
At all.
Who did Jordan call a hoe? I didn't even catch that part.
The dude from UConn. He was a rookie. He was
okay. I gotta watch.
He called my whole man a hoe. I was like, ew.
What's his name?
Nah. There's certain things, man. It's like you tolerate and disrespect at a certain point. But,
yeah, nah, he was disrespecting people. Like, nah.
Like, honestly,
Listen
man,
here,
this
he
is
only
a bit.
did it to push people. He only did it to push people.
Oh yeah.
No, there's pushing people, and then there's fighting. Like, those are fighting words. Like,
yo, he punched Curry.
Yeah.
No, it's more than.
That's what he's trying to bring out of you, though. He's trying to bring out.
When you deny a man a meal,
you don't deserve to eat.
What is that?
But you know why people put up with it though? Because it was Jordan, and like they knew.
They said that was on the plane.
He was proven though.
And let me say this again. Jordan is the only person that could do that to you. If LeBron looked me in my eyes and told me I'm not eating, or he called me a hoe, like, I don't care how big you are. Like, we're going to have to fight.
Jared.
I don't care.
Michael Jordan's not calling me no hoe either, okay? I'm sorry. There's just no way. But anyways, as far as the doc, man, like, just thinking back in that era and everything, like, it's definitely an eye-opening doc. It's actually, like, yeah, I heard that whole stigma about his competition. He had competition. He did. I mean, these were solid teams, 60-plus win teams he was beating. You know what I'm saying? So they weren't like scrub teams. It's just he was just that good. But here's the thing. LeBron, I feel like, has faced better talent individually. And you cannot tell me Kevin Durant would not dominate. You cannot tell me Kevin Durant would not dominate. You cannot tell me Kevin Durant would not dominate that era.
He'll be a solid player. I don't know about dominate.
Well, you got to think.
Let me ask you a question.
You got to think. No, because you have to think. You have to play in a more aggressive league.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
listen, you
Durant is not just running down the paint. He's too thin.
No, Jared. The only reason why everybody is like that because that's where the game has gone. So now you expect it. If you stop getting certain calls after a while, you're gonna stop looking for the calls and you're gonna just ball. True. The thing is, the refs literally reward every little thing. So now, if you get hit in the slightest way, you're gonna now look for it because they're now calling stuff that aren't really fouls. That's what it is. You cannot tell me, okay, if you really want more proof, look when LeBron first came to the league. It was a much harder league even in 04, 05. Yeah. Look at that.
And you can say that. You can say that. I'm not saying LeBron would survive. LeBron would survive.
Yeah, but you're saying he's not. I hate that argument about LeBron, bro. I really do. This man would destroy the competition.
No, I thought you said KD. KD
is not soft, man. People need to stop saying that about him too, bro. I hate that.
When he came into the league, like, look at him when he came into the league, bro. He would have got tore up.
Okay, didn't Michael Jordan have to bulk up to beat certain teams?
Yeah,
that's a given with a lot of players.
We're talking about a different type of bulk, though.
Okay. I'm just saying, I can just like people adapt and mature and get better in the game. I definitely think KD could have done it.
Look, I feel like KD still would have been a bucket because you can't teach 7 foot.
No.
7'11" wingspan. You can't teach that, and you can't teach his skill set for his size, and you can't teach his smoothness for his size. You can't teach certain things. So yes, but from other aspects, physically, it would have been much tougher for a player like Kevin Durant because literally, if I'm a defender back in the day, based on how the rules have changed today, I'm not even allowing you to pick a direction you're going. I'm forcing you wherever I want you to go.
That's right. You got a hand check.
My hands. Because I'm hand checking you every single time because I know for a fact I can't stay in front of you. So
listen, with that argument, listen, my whole thing is if you have a natural ability to score, Muggsy Bogues got it done. You cannot tell me if you need to score. If you are that person as an offensive talent, you'll thrive. I'm just saying, and especially somebody with that all-time level of talent like Kevin Durant. That's all I'm saying. That's all. There weren't that many level tier players.
I'm sure he'd still be able to put the ball in the hoop.
Yeah. I'm not saying he wouldn't dominate as much as he is now. I'm just saying you cannot tell me he wouldn't be getting buckets and getting his thing done back in the day. You would not tell me that because the players, there weren't that many players on that level of a tier back then. I'm sorry, there just weren't. Like right now, well, I'm not gonna go there, but I can say that Stephen Curry, as light as his little baby self is, everybody loves to say he wouldn't get his shots out. Stop playing with me.
No, he would get his shots off, but he's not going in the paint like he normally is. That goes for Kyrie too. Are you telling me right now during the era of the Detroit Pistons,
Isaiah Thomas did it, Jared? What are you talking about? Isaiah Thomas
and he got busted up. He got busted up with busted eyes.
Jared, Isaiah Thomas has 2 championships with the Detroit Pistons.
Yes.
He literally was like Kyrie with the handles before Kyrie was even in this conversation. What are you talking about? Kyrie wouldn't get. This is what I'm talking about. So
this is like me right now. You think Kyrie is going in the paint each time going against Lambeer and all that other shit? You think he's going to dominate the way he dominates right now?
Jared,
going in the paint.
Jared, what I'm saying is you can find a way to score it. First of all, a lot of people against the Detroit Pistons back then wasn't getting it done. There just nobody was. And the only reason why you're saying that about Isaiah Thomas because that nigga was on his team. That's why. No other team was bullying these dudes. This man was literally averaging. How much was Isaiah Thomas averaging?
Brother, I can't tell you that. I don't have.
Okay, I'll tell you. Give me a second.
The Knicks numbers.
I don't have those numbers.
No, I'll tell you right now. Hold on.
But we shouldn't bring up Isaiah Thomas because, like Jordan said, it's nothing you can tell me to make me believe that he's not an asshole.
You ain't lying about that.
Well, he said, I don't know what went into the selection. I know I had the resume to be. That shit was funny as fuck.
Yo, the funniest thing ever was the Gary Payton joint where he starts dying of laughter talking about he could guard me. And I'm like, yo, that is so disrespectful. I had no problem with
some people back down tonight. You just got to keep tying them out. You got to tie him out. Yo, he's a clown too.
So this man averaged 19.5 for his career, 9.5 assists, 1.9 steals, and 7.759 from the free throw line. Let's see. And as far as averages, he would average 5.4 free throws a game. You cannot tell me Kyrie can't get to the paint and get those things. I'm not saying it would have been different, Jared. Okay. I'm not saying that. Okay. But you need to understand you love to put the older players in all sports on this pedestal, and it's just simply not true. It's just simply not true. People need to let that go.
I don't know that Kyrie Irving is Isaiah Thomas though.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's players who had the. Okay, let's not talk about Isaiah Thomas. Let's talk about somebody else. Let's talk about. Let me see.
No,
we don't have to talk. No. I'm talking about somebody who is known for handle.
Chris
Tim
Paul?
Hardaway. No. I'm talking about in that generation.
Tim Hardaway?
Yeah.
Okay.
Balling though.
Or if you even want to go back to now, you just mentioned Chris Paul. You cannot tell me Chris Paul can't maneuver himself into the paint.
Chris Paul could ball in that era, but remember, Chris Paul is known for his assists.
No. We're talking about his ability to penetrate. First of all, let's not remember what's got us to this conversation. We're talking about the overall talent level of Jordan's era versus our era, and how the players are comparable. We have more talented players in this era than they did back then. We do.
I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like on a general.
They had bigger big men. I can say that they had bigger big men.
I think on a general spectrum, yes. In terms of depth, from the first player to the last player in the league, I feel like there's generally more talent. In terms of the top tier talent, I don't know if I can look at this era and say definitively that it's just better talent at the top. Like if we were to take the top 20 players from today and the top 20 players from the 90s, I don't know if we can definitively say the top 20 from this decade is just better flat out.
And can I tell you why you would probably feel that way?
Why?
Because the higher the talent of the general league becomes, the less of a gap it will be between those types of players and the rest of the league. That's literally a testament to how good the rest of the league has become. And actually, on a global level, that's literally what that means.
What if you could see,
ahead.
we're talking about like players now playing in the league back then, but what if the players in the league back then had what the players in the league have now? Like bodies and all of this stuff, like the forward thinking stuff, the conditioning and the diets and all that stuff is way different now than it was back then. Like if these people were being conditioned like the way that they're conditioned now, like imagine a league then.
But then you can't say that because then in 10 years from now, what about the players in the future? They're going to have things.
They're always going to be better conditioned because science is going to get better.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff is going to come out. So they're going to be better physically. But the skill, I think, is what you really could argue. Because even like the shape, you can't really put, because it's just different. It's different like skills to get people in shape now than it was back then. I mean, even Jordan and the Bulls with them doing Pilates and all that stuff, that was like, that wasn't done in all of the teams. Like Phil Jackson brought all of that stuff in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now everybody's doing yoga to be more flexible, even on football teams.
Yeah.
So did anybody have anything else Jordan Doc related or?
I wanted one highlight that I feel like he don't get enough respect is Dennis Rodman.
Oh yeah. Dennis Rodman ended up coming out of this for me as the MVP of the documentary because I was aware of Dennis Rodman. I was completely aware. Like nothing that was presented in here I didn't know, but it bringing it to light again, me seeing it in a mature state, I'm like, nah, this man Dennis Rodman was really on top of the world, man. Like he really was. Like this man won 2 chips with Detroit. Okay, left to do whatever he wanted to, started getting wild in the league, joined the Bulls, was sleeping with every possible top celebrity there was at the time.
In the practice,
was literally doing whatever he wanted. This man left the middle of the NBA Finals to go on Monday Night Nitro WCW. Nigga, I've never heard anything like that in my life.
Yo, if you just a sidebar, I don't know if you were on the network. If you watch Unsung, they got a little documentary on that too.
Facts?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty good. I watched it last night.
Yo, the goatest thing my man did was, yo, I need a vacation. I'm going to Las Vegas.
Facts.
What? You doing what?
But then it showed how important he is. Michael Jordan went to LA, went to Las Vegas to go get him.
Yo,
Yep.
was Carmen Electra hiding behind the couch? Was it Carmen Electra? Yo, that shit must have been crazy.
Wow. Man.
Yo.
Dennis Rodman, a legend, man.
Freaking
Yeah, he is.
But I'm sure, speaking of Jordan Doc, I'm sure that's been holding a lot of people down for this entire coronavirus period and quarantine.
Oh, yes, it has.
So speaking of quarantine, Jalen, we haven't really talked that much since this entire quarantine stuff has started. You know, how have you been affected, or how are you doing through those times? Like, how has anything changed for you?
I mean, for me, not much has changed. I mean, other than not being able to do much. But like I still been working and everything. But like I just see a lot of people, man, hurting, especially now. Like they're supposed to open the barbershops up tomorrow, and then back down. Now they're not opening up for another couple weeks. And I mean that's like something that is like not even really. I mean, it's important because I need it.
It's not that important, but it's important.
Yeah. Like, you don't want to say like I don't want to sound like first world country, but it's like We need it. But I mean, there's people out there that's not working, man. That
That's
even like with unemployment and everything, like they not able to pay rent and all that other stuff. It's hurt a lot of people, even businesses. I think life after is still gonna be a lot. Like we don't even know what normal is anymore because what life's gonna be like. Um,
facts.
and then I mean, thinking about entertainment and the culture, like even when the movies do come out, like what movies are they gonna show? Because like movie people, they're not gonna want to put movies out. Like Fast and the Furious, they pushed it back a whole nother year because they don't want to play around with it.
Can I tell you something? I actually know what's gonna happen. Like movie theaters are gonna go like out of business, and only movie theaters I think there's gonna be is drive-in movie theaters where everybody's separated, but
Mm-hmm.
pretty much everything's gonna get streamed to your Netflix or Hulu, or they're gonna come out with their own like I guess app for movies.
Yo, you could on right now. They got theater at home on Apple TV. You could like watch movies that are supposed to come out and watch and like rent it or whatever.
That's what I'm saying. Like sooner or later, there's not gonna be movie theaters. Like you're not gonna be sitting in a movie theater. And then I heard that Universal, um, when they I guess did Trolls World Tour to I think it was Netflix or Hulu or something. Um, all like I think AMC's were like, yo, we're not doing any more Universal movies at our theaters.
Mm-hmm.
So you could tell right there, this changed how we see movies. This is gonna change how we go to school. This is gonna change how we go to college. Like
It's
this
gonna
really
change the
showed,
world, bro.
yeah.
It's just crazy. It's crazy because you're mentioning all that stuff that might come back, and it's like we always talk about how history repeats itself, and you can see why an event like this would cause history to repeat itself because you go and you build time and time and time goes by, and you're spending nothing but that during that time, nothing but and making advances, and then something like coronavirus literally renders all those advances meaningless. And then you literally back to a basic ass level as something like drive-in movies.
Honestly,
That's right. That right there is mind blowing.
yeah. No, what I was gonna say was like this is actually like you just scratched the surface on what I mean as far as like the movie theater experience because like movie studios period, right?
Yeah.
For instance, the Batman, the movie that they're filming right now with Robert Pattinson, that got halted I believe till October or something like that. Mind you, it was already filming. You have all these other things like the Marvel Disney Plus series and Black Widow, which is it was supposed to be released like 3 weeks ago now. It's now pushed back to November, I believe. Like, so I'm saying all that to say like movies that were supposed to be released in theaters may not get released in theaters now. It may just go straight to streaming services. So it's like, okay, with that being said, and I'm looking at Wonder Woman specifically when I say this, because remember, Wonder Woman already was delayed an entire year for this year. It was supposed to come out last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if y'all knew that. It was supposed to come out last year and it got delayed because of Captain Marvel and all that stuff. They wanted to kind of push it to this year. So it got pushed to this year and then the coronavirus happened. So then now what do? You delay it another year, delay it a couple more months, or do you release it on streaming services? So with that being said, do studios now with this thing start cutting back on the type of films that they produce? Do they start putting more money to these films that are already in the middle of shooting? What happens then? So it's like you have all these like these domino effects of things that are happening with this coronavirus. It's like, bro, nobody knows what's gonna happen with this.
No.
Honestly, like studios are losing mad money because right now, I'm talking about the ones that were already filming in the middle of this process. You have equipment they're still paying rent for throughout this whole process. Like you got studios still paying for spaces that are not being used for like months at a time, like almost costing them $1 million, $2 million per whatever. Like it's no joke out here, bro. So honestly, to that whole movie theater point, I do think movie theaters will lose money, and I also think movie studios will lose money. Like just like the Weinstein Company went out of business because of Harvey Weinstein, I would not be surprised if another movie studio went out of business down the line. Like I don't know if it's like Blumhouse or like I don't know, but I don't know, bro. I would not be
Yeah,
surprised.
it's Corona's taking a toll on a lot of stuff, dog.
And a lot. I
Because
mean, and more more just right at home. Like you think of like the small businesses, like we talked about barbershop, like barbers, hair salons, beauty salons, like all of those people, man, they still like are paying for a space, like a rent. They're still paying rent
Mm-hmm.
place that they can't use. I mean, it's a lot of places out there. So I think like even like going into it, like I think we got to focus on like smaller businesses a little bit more going forward, like making sure we like support our barbers and make sure that like we go and we support like the smaller stores, like every once in a while, like going to like a little mom and pop to like buy something instead of going to Walmart, even though it might cost a little bit more, just so that we could support them, because those people, man, they're taking a hit. And it's like imagine going down Main Street in Norwalk and like you don't see lunches there, or you don't see like certain places there anymore just because they can't afford to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
So I mean, life is gonna be way different, man, after this, and I think that's the scary part for people because they don't know what it's gonna be like. Even though like I want to get back to work, like some
Mm-hmm.
people like, are just scared because they don't know if they're gonna have a job to go back to. So it's scary times, man.
Facts.
Only thing I can say I'm kind of excited about is I hope the housing market goes down. I just hope.
So you could take advantage of that.
Hell yeah.
Look, everything always, there's gonna be negatives and positives to take from everything. There's always gonna be that. Honestly, you just gotta. This is why staying in the crib is important, because
Facts.
you gotta actually let it die down. First of all, if we're being honest, all these months have gone by, and we're still not even really 100% sure what this is that we're dealing with. Like, like I can't speak for everybody else, but I know me personally, I cannot give you any more clarification on what it was from what I learned about the first week. I really don't know. It's not that I don't pay attention to find out stuff. You know, you hear about death tolls, you hear about possible opening dates, you hear about it every single day. But the virus itself, I don't know what that is. I'm still struggling, and that's the scariest part, because when you don't actually have all the information, how do you attack? How do you attack something without having all the information?
Can I tell you something?
And the thing is
and
too,
without
though,
being vulnerable.
and the thing is too, though, it's like you have people that are starting to get tested as positive when they were already tested as negative. Like you had the virus, recovered, and came back negative, and then you got tested again and you were positive. So if that's the case, why are we opening up right now? Like
Money, the moolah, man. The moolah.
economy.
You know everything is about the bread.
But it's like, I don't know. Like I want to open up, but I'm glad they're opening up in stages, at least to kind of.
If anybody I blame Trump for all of this, because he thought it was a joke. And now that it's serious, now he's talking about, I'm taking this, I'm taking that, and we're trying to fix the problem. But all he had to do was figure something out. Like the person that brought Corona back into America, have them just go into quarantine for 2 weeks or whatever. Like, if he handled this
We
at
were
the
late
beginning,
to the
it wouldn't
party.
be this
That's the
issue.
problem. We was late to the party. That is the issue. And not only when you're late to the party, it's not even about being late, because you can be late to the party, go to the party, and still enjoy the party. That happens. But when you are late to the party and you're also showing up to the wrong party, like that's an issue, because not only are you late, but you don't even know what you're dealing with. You feel me? So right there is just, if we would have been more aggressive in terms of approach to shut down, we probably would have been leaps and bounds ahead, because I can't fathom how a place, I don't know the status of China is now, but for it to have been originated in China, for a place the size of China and the population of China, for them to shut down, go into a month-long quarantine,
Mhm.
and then find the results as vastly different as they were?
I have something to say to that, Dean. I actually
Like,
do.
how is somewhere
Mhm.
where the virus originated able to contain it like that?
Bro, you got to
And
look
we
at the
can't.
type of society China is, though, Dean.
Facts.
It's not even about our government in its entirety. Yes, the government in America has a lot to do with it, but it's not. I'm not going to sit here and put this all on the government, bro. The people have to be
True.
accountable. There are people who are literally, there are so many videos online of nurses, doctors, governors, mayors, people pleading with the common people to stay inside. Like, even if we were late with the party, right? We're at the party. So now it's the job, because it's been out in the media. It's been out in every form of media you can possibly look at, tabloids, articles, webinars, whatever, to stay home. You still have people out here trying to freaking go to like these concerts and go to the beach and stuff, not completely oblivious to what's being said. So the Chinese government and the people of China, when it comes to structure, when it comes to following order, they're generally, and it's just by how their government has been, they're better than that. Americans are really entitled.
I 1000% agree with you, but let me throw this counter to that, right? At the same time, I 100% agree that Americans as a whole were just very privileged, so we don't tend to take certain things like this serious because we have never really had to deal with anything. More often than not, we don't really have true problems per se when you compare it to a lot of the other nations in the world. But also, if the government had approached it in a way where it was known that this is something to be taken serious from the immediate jump. Like when I say, when you have the power figures or power heads essentially trying to blow it off to the side, like it's not, or they just don't come across like they know much that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
The common people gonna be like, well, I don't give a fuck either. That's just natural. It's a mix of us being, overly privileged, but I feel like as well when the people who should be in control of stuff like this don't really have a clue or are behind on the ball, that's part of the issue as well, in my opinion.
Then if that's part of the issue, then why did Italy and Australia and some of these other countries suffer the same way we suffered? I honestly don't even. My main thing is, I think the source of it, those people over there, and I'm not going to name China itself, but Wuhan, somebody has to answer for this, bro, because literally the information leaving to go to other countries about this whole thing, like I don't know if y'all know, they had a festival in Wuhan right after the virus first broke out, a worldwide festival, when you had people from all over the globe going to this festival and then going back to their countries. Like, Wuhan did a terrible job of telling everybody as far as what's going on. Literally, the only reason why I'm kind of counting what you just said, Deem, is because literally this happened to Italy. It happened to Australia in the same fashion. Literally.
The thing,
If it's just America, I'm agreeing with the American part too. We definitely could have done better in certain states at least, but the information going to the world from Wuhan, I'm blaming Wuhan. That's really where I'm coming from. I'm blaming Wuhan for the most part. My bad, Jalen. You were gonna say something.
I think that the privilege thing in America too is a little bit. It's not a privilege as to privilege of our stuff. It's that we know our rights, and like our rights are like what we fight for, and Americans kind of like they won't be kept in the house because they feel like it's a infringement on their rights to life. So like it's a little
That's
bit
true
different
too.
because over in,
It's a
like if you
fantastic
look
point.
at Taiwan, like they locked everything down. Like if you go over there, when you come in, they check your temperature and then you got to quarantine for 14 days. And if you leave, like they track your cell phone, they track everywhere you went. It like that's not happening in America. If
You know what? That's a great point, and that's kind of like our strength is our weakness type of thing. Like, not saying it's a good thing to be like in a dictatorship almost, but in this particular situation, like, and I'm not saying people should be forced to be home, but in this particular situation, a dictatorship is almost what we need.
But that's the wild thing, though. Jim, and I'm
Like,
actually glad we're talking about something like this because that's why I always say in anything possible ever, there's give and pull in everything. There's positive aspects and negative aspects to everything possible. While a dictatorship can have many things you disagree about, a dictatorship literally enables them to shut down the entire country the way they did for a month and stop a fucking disease that we haven't been able to fucking figure out in the 2 months we've had it in this country.
everybody got rights in America.
If you look
Whoa. Let's say people of certain nationalities have power.
but look at this. If you look at who's really pushing back, like, because black people and Spanish people, they said stay home. Like, for the most part, we stay home. We like, okay, we got time off
because
of work.
black parents gonna tell you to sit your ass the fuck down. Okay? That's just how it's gonna go.
Maxine Waiters, Auntie Maxie over in California, she said, like, stay your ass home. She said that. But if you look at the people who like are really fighting, they protesting, like, they don't look like us. They're the same people that when we get killed, they telling us, "Oh, you guys are making noise for no reason. Blue lives matter." Like, the people that's going and protesting are like the white people. Those are the people that, I'm not saying black people aren't like mad because they got to stay home, but the people.
Oh no, we've been wilding too. We've been wilding too sometimes.
You want to know why? And this is actually a great transitional piece into what we're going to talk about next.
Okay.
And my whole thing with that is, honestly, you were talking about the people who are actually protesting this and that they don't look like us. And the reason why I'm going to tell you that is because as a black person or as a minority in general, we have so much shit that we have to fight for on a daily basis that when coronavirus comes along and we have to sit in our house, we're just going to sit in our house because we don't have time to fight against that. You know, when you don't have shit that you have to fight for on a daily basis, you have time to fight against coronavirus quarantining. You know, we don't got time for that, bro. We gotta fight for life on a daily basis. Like, we gotta worry about if we walk out the crib, if we might die today just because I'm wearing a hoodie while black. Like, it's different levels of worry. That's why they're able to go out and protest not wanting to be in the house. That's being in the house right now for a black person. This is not that big a deal right now, unless you're clearly out of job and it's financial hardships and things like that. But the social aspect, we vary considerably when
I gotta say this too, man. I gotta point this out, and a lot of people don't know this, but when it comes to the actual death toll of this coronavirus,
it's more of us.
It's more black people.
Yeah.
Black.
But we're not talking about people being diagnosed. We're talking about the actual death toll.
Yeah.
And part of that reasoning, I gotta say it, man, is we're not healthy. We're not healthy people, man. A lot of people, black people, we don't eat good. We don't. And we're someone who has a stronger immune system, a stronger built-in body, who's just more healthy. When these things start attacking your lungs and everything, there it goes. Just like that. So,
and
I just gotta point that out.
The thing too, though, because you could look at it and you could just say, "Oh, like, they're not eating healthy," but there's a couple factors in that. If you look at it, there's other stuff too. Like, if you look at where black people live, like who's more likely to live in the projects is black and Spanish people.
What's in it's fried chicken, McDonald's, all foods that could kill you.
But you're looking at that's like being overweight. But if you look at things like asthma, where you have environmental aspects of it, where you got people living in projects where the stuff isn't healthy, where you got like places like right here in Norwalk, Connecticut, like Carlton Court or the Hill, Meadows Garden, Ruin Court, who, like, we found that there's like asbestos and there's like stuff that's right around the projects where people are living and sleeping, where causes them to have asthma. So if you have asthma, that opens it up where you're at risk. Also, if you're making less money, then you're gonna buy stuff that's affordable. You're gonna buy food that you could afford to buy. So you're not shopping at Whole Foods, you're shopping at like ShopRite or Walmart, and like you're not getting veggies or something. You're getting something that's like cheap, like ramen noodles, where the salt content is super high, so you're gonna have high blood pressure, and you're not eating well. So there is an aspect where we have to take accountability for ourselves, and we got to work out more. We got to change the way we eat, and we got to change the way we do. But we also got to look at it as there is a certain section of people who are vulnerable
It's
to
the
certain
system.
things. Yeah, the system's there. Like if you
Honestly, bro, and I'm fantastic. It's fantastic that you bring that up because you mentioned earlier when we were talking about coronavirus how it's the smaller business people that you got to actually look for. And when I apply that to this, it's just people as a whole all need to be recognized and treated the same. Like it shouldn't, your money shouldn't determine how your health care or how you're treated or that your environment is kept at a certain level. You know what I'm saying? Like that. If we had everything going away where it was, all right, everybody's going to get the same amount of attention, a lot of problems like that wouldn't exist. Simply. But it's literally because capitalism is the system that we're in. That's what we have to face. We're in a capitalistic society, and wherever the money is where all the attention is going to be. That's how it is, and that we kind of have to get away from that thinking, because if you're in a position right now where you're behind somebody, how are you ever going to catch that person without having to make a dramatic, you know what I'm saying? You're never going to ever catch up to that person's level. You're always going to be behind somehow. So my thing is you got to bring stuff back to a human element, and everybody has to be taken into consideration. And I actually think that's a great transition into our next topic, which
I think on that point, I think like you talked about like how you're going to get ahead, or how you're going to catch up in the race. I think we got to like we got to like support ourselves. And when I say that, I mean back to the small businesses. Like if you know, like Wigs has the Gold Room, the salon. That's where you take your girl to get their hair done and to get like a massage or something. If you know that we gotta start thinking about economy and all of that stuff, and financial literacy and everything to really catch up. And to catch up, we gotta build our community up. So we gotta support like Black businesses, and supporting Black businesses isn't gonna hurt like an Amazon. It's not gonna hurt white business or Spanish business, because we don't own enough. Just outright, we don't own enough. Even if we try to buy as much Black as possible, still probably 90%, 95% of the stuff that we have to buy is gonna come from outside of our community. So if 10 or 9% of what we spend is within our community, that's gonna help out, because most likely that Black business, they're hiring somebody Black. They're buying something for somebody Black, and then they're going to support Black business. We got a lot of Black businesses in Norwalk, man, and if we support them, and not even Norwalk, in Fairfield County, we support them, then I mean that helps us catch up and even maybe get ahead.
You know what, Jalen? I gotta say, man, I honestly, like, it's gonna take a while before we get to that point, but I honestly want to give Black people more credit too, as far as like you said, we have so many Black businesses in Norwalk, bro. Like, I don't think we would have said that 3 years ago.
No,
honestly.
I mean young.
It's like young too, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think right now we're on a great like pace, and we're in a great like direction on where we're going, and we just continue that like as a country. It's not even gonna take. Cause we're still how many years removed from slavery are we,
bro? Why are you hitting it on the fucking head like that though?
Because it's, you know what I'm saying? Like
it's gonna take
generations and years to really overcome that. And we're getting, I mean, we just had a Black president. Literally.
Bro, just 400 years. We're literally working off of 400 years. Mm-hmm. We're kind of hard on ourselves in a sense, because we want more for ourselves. Because if you actually look about it, look at how far we've come in 400 years. being able to look and know that you're of equal stature and that you're able to do certain things, even though it's harder for us to get certain things done still. We have come a long way in those 400 years. We're not where we need to be or where we can be, but we definitely have. Sometimes you got to look back, and sometimes you got to reflect on where you're coming from and remind you that you actually have made strides. Because sometimes it feels like you're stagnant, even though you actually have been moving.
It's just where we are in history. Like, where we are in history is where we are. And I feel like in another 30 years from now, Black people are going to be in a completely different place in the government, in the market, in the stock market, as far as just like overall social stigma. Like, you over here, you look up 4 Black teenagers on Google, and what you see, you're going to see 4 Black thugs. But you type in 4 Black white kids on YouTube or Google, you're going to see a family of 4 with the father. And it's like that stuff like that, until that changes, we got a ways to go. But we had
the thing is too, is that like we can't look at it and say like, oh, we're just like, it's where we are, even though it is where we are, but we got to look at it and say, okay, what can I do to push us forward? Because
always
the thing is too, it's like we could look back and see like, oh, we came a long way, but then sometimes when you're doing like you taking a walk, you taking a hike, and then you look back and see how far you came. I think I did it Sleepy Hollow. I look back and I was like, oh, like we came kind of far. And then I looked up the hill and was like, oh, we still got a far way to go. And we got to just keep pushing to get through it. Like, we appreciate like the wins are like, they're few and far between. Like, it seems like we see like people getting killed all the time still. Like, young Black people like still getting killed and no justice. And we got to fight for justice, and we still got to say that Black Lives Matter. So it's still stuff like that where, like you said, we feel like we're stagnant. But now I think Black women are like the highest percentage of the highest group of people that's going to college and graduating.
Right.
Like,
I was gonna say that.
Crazy. So we still have like wins that are there, but we got work to do. And I think we just have to remember that and not get comfortable, or like see what we could do to like help push us forward, because that's what they did in the 60s with the civil rights movement. They looked at where they were at and like, okay, we're gonna push forward because I want to see the finish line, and I want my kids to be able to see the finish line, or at least see a better side of what we're seeing now.
Facts. And to transition, you brought up, you know, Black people still being killed and all that stuff. I wanted to transition into the Ahmaud Arbery stuff, but before I even go into that, I wanted to kind of wrap that up by saying, honestly, the solution is it's kind of crazy because we're fighting for equality, but at the same time, in our fight for equality, we have to be selfish. You feel what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because when you're behind, the only way you can get ahead or finally be on the same level as somebody is if you're doing more while that person's not doing as much as you. So you're literally progressing while they're progressing at a slower rate, and you eventually catch up because that's how time works. You feel me? But it's just crazy. We just literally have to go day by day and literally have it in our mind. All right, Black this, Black that, Black this, Black that. Because yeah, that seems tedious and very anal to do something like that, but it takes that type of mindset and that type of dedication to actually show change. Like,
That is not even a far-fetched concept, because the Asian community does that.
That's
Literally, the Asian community bands together unlike no other. I promise you. And it's like, bro, we literally can learn a thing or two as far as like supporting their own. But yeah, sorry, you can go. Yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah, we got barbershops, we got salons, we got you got Joe Grits doing t-shirts, you got people that's doing it. You got Ty down in doing Everybody Eats, like food and stuff. You got Poe's Kitchen. I mean, I know you're talking about eating right and everything. You need to eat right, but cheat day.
Poe's Kitchen.
So you got all of that. You got
Man.
all of that stuff, man. It's a lot. It's a lot of like entrepreneurs that's coming up as young people too. Like our generation that we graduated with, they're not too far ahead of us or behind us. That's like they actually out here doing it and making money.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is like that's why we started this. Like we wanted to push just our community and just push just the culture and making it a better place, I guess. You know?
Yeah, that's why this next topic is so important, man. And I'm sure if you've stayed up on the news, you're pretty aware of the Ahmaud Arbery situation. But if you're not, I'm going to run down a little quick, little synopsis. So Ahmaud Arbery is a black citizen who was shot and killed by two white men after what they claim to be him fleeing. Other witnesses say that he was on a jog in the neighborhood. Video surveillance has come out of him kind of entering in an abandoned home, per se, that was being worked on, and then a phone call being called to the police. But he says another black man with no gun or anything like that lost his life tragically. And honestly, what do you guys feel about the situation? Also, the way that it's being spun, the typical framing of black men in America. This is why it's so important for us to talk about stuff like this, because even today there was video release of, I don't know how long ago it was, but there was video release came out today of them trying to paint a picture of him being a thug, where they're trying to say video came out of him attempting robbery at a Walmart however many years ago. This looks like it was 5-6 years ago. And I don't know what came to be of that, but what are your guys' thoughts on the entire situation?
David, you wanna have any thoughts?
You got this one, Jalen.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is the sad thing is about it. The first time that I heard about it, my coworker said, "Oh, you heard about that killing of the black kid?" And my response was, "Which one?"
True.
Yeah, that's bad, man. That's bad.
And that's the sad part. And I think what's even sadder, that there's so much, is that I don't even I don't have, even before the people were charged, I didn't have any hope that justice was going to be done, because I knew, like, it's like their playbook. It's like when something like that happens, it's like, okay, let's go to their Instagram or Facebook and find the worst picture of them to make them look like a thug. So we're not going to show the graduation picture, we're going to show the thug picture, and then we're going to find something that they did when they were 16 that like was mischievous or whatever, and we're going to paint them to be this thug. So it's okay to kill them. And like all of that, I went to school for criminal justice, and none of that stuff matters. Like, if what matters is that the second of the crime, like the time of the crime, and what happened. Yep. So it doesn't matter what he did before. Like he could have literally just killed somebody 15 minutes ago and was coming home. If like that has nothing to do with it, it's what he did at that crime. If he didn't attack you without a cause or anything, like that's the problem. And then when I saw the video, I was just like, wow, like this is clear that like he was running. It looked like he was defenseless. They had a truck. They couldn't say that they feared for their life, because if they did, they could have gotten the truck and they could have drove away and let the cops handle it. So I really didn't see anything that they could fight it. But then when I looked into the Georgia laws with the vigilante thing, and you could do a citizen's arrest, like, bro, it's like, wow, it's like it's always something.
When you dive into the Georgia laws, like, I don't even want to be pessimistic, but when you dive into the Georgia laws, I watched this video, and it was a former police officer. It was African American, and he was basically giving us his experience, and based on the Georgia laws, why he thought certain things were going to go certain ways. And honestly, based on that, I don't see this turning out well for us, bro. I really don't, because the moment you have anything that reads that they were in the right, we're already fighting a losing battle. Because being black is already wrong in the situation, if you get what I'm saying. So it's like whenever they start attacking rights like citizens arrest, which is egregious in itself, because I shouldn't be able to, yes, because I'm able to conceal and carry, be able to use that same gun to go hunt somebody down like I'm the police. That makes no sense. In what world does that make sense to anybody?
Yo, my whole thing with that is though, it's like, and it's a point that hasn't even been made yet. It's like, if that video didn't come out, would they have gotten arrested?
No.
And the reason why I'm saying that even like that is, you cannot tell me they would have got arrested, because you saw how quickly it took for them. As soon as it went viral, you see how quickly it took for these two men to be arrested. Yeah. Stop! Don't tell me it was because of whatever. No, it's because the video was out. It's publicly makes the area look bad. It makes the police department look bad, and they just want to just do the right and just whatever and take it to trial.
Because it's not about doing the right thing, bro. It's about protecting their ass. That's the problem that you got to get away from. It should be about the people.
You got to look at it like this too. In the courtroom, when you're presenting the evidence, is similar to an argument. Now, if I told you that you had to argue a point that you didn't agree with, like that your argument is going to be like crap. Like you're not going to argue it well because you don't believe in that argument. So these people, to me, they don't believe that these people like did anything wrong. That's why they didn't charge them. So with them to argue, go in the courtroom and argue that they should be like sent to prison for murder, I don't see how they could do that effectively, because they obviously don't believe that the charges should have been brought. So I don't feel like they could actually argue like efficiently, because they don't believe in it. Like that's like me telling you, like Tim, to argue that the Lakers are better than the Celtics. It's just you're not gonna argue that effectively because you don't believe that.
Exactly. That's a great point.
Yeah,
that's a really great point.
It's just we've been, and this is why we honestly just we gotta find a way to break through the threshold and rid ourselves of all these stigmas. Because I even came across a video today, which was mind-boggling, because as I'm watching the video, what I'm about to explain didn't even hit me until you're on Twitter and then you go into the threads and then somebody will make a comment and it'll be like, oh shit. But so today, a white woman in her mid ages was harassing a black man at an apartment complex. I'm not sure what state this was taking place, but he's in full uniform, like police uniform. He has on a protective vest. He has his holster. He has everything geared up like he's SWAT, bro. To be honest, and he's like trying to get into the building. And he actually lives there. She's harassing him as if he's like somebody trying to break into the building. Meanwhile, he's in full police gear, right? So he finally starts to walk away, and now he's trying to like issue her a citation and all that. But then this goes by, and he actually pulls out identification to show to her that he lives in the building. And if it hasn't hit you yet, it's like, even though he's an officer, the fact that he was black came to his mind before he was even an officer. Because why are you, as an officer, showing your identification to somebody who means absolutely nothing? That's how traumatized we are, bro.
Facts. It's crazy.
Like, to not even think, like, to completely forget that you're an officer of the law and you're presenting identification to a random woman. That's crazy.
But the thing too, I mean, think about it. Like, how many white kids could say that they saw somebody that looks like them dead in the street, like on the news?
Yep, true.
All of us could say that we seen like somebody that looks like us be murdered, or either dead, or we saw pictures of it like on the news repeatedly, not just once, but like multiple times. Like we saw like the bad side of society like affect us like personally. Like not even talking about like slavery. If we didn't know nothing about slavery, we just knew about what's going on now. Like like all of the people, like we can't even name all of the people that we saw like get killed.
That's sad.
Like young people from like age 10 or whatever, all the way up to like us and Eric Gardner. Like we seen them like murder. We saw that. Like so of course like what comes to mind is yeah, I'm black and that could happen to me. Like that could be me being killed. We saw way more people be killed than we saw like become president or senators around the country.
Yeah. Really
Definitely.
tragic. And that's the part that kills me the most about everything. The fact that that could be me is so easily applied is crazy. Because it seems like every story that comes out, it seems like we'd have the evidence to suggest that, you know what, we might actually have this one. We weren't in the wrong. You know, we weren't doing anything to provoke or to call this action upon ourselves. And I reference specifically the man who was in his apartment and the former police officer comes into his own apartment and she shoots him in his apartment and gets off.
I was actually going to mention that earlier about that case because he ended up getting off. She ended up getting off of that.
Facts. You just start to feel so defeated that you don't even want to fight anything because it's like, damn, when I'm already trying to fight for my life and I'm telling you this is not right, now I'm giving you the evidence to suggest that nothing about this is right, and they're still getting off every time. Why am I fighting anymore? But we can't let that get to us though. You
honestly,
literally have to fight.
Honestly, I just think about how it was back in slavery times. I'm sure they felt the same way and 100 times worse of just what they had to go through. So it's like, as black people, that's what makes us black people. That's the connectiveness right there, that struggle right there, that where we constantly feel like, yo, why am I fighting? Like, yo, the only people that's going to understand us is us. And it's like, so that's why it's like we just kind of continue to support each other, be there for each other during this struggle, and you know, just maintain it. And it's like as we keep going and progressing year after year after year, we're gonna get there. But it's tough, man. It's definitely tough. It's like it's a losing battle that it feels like. But believe it or not, it's not a losing battle as we think. It's just we got ways to go. But
what scares me about this whole thing is, Jalen, you have a son. One day we'll have a son or a daughter, and we're gonna have to explain to them what it's like to be black in America. And that's what bothers me as I get older, because everybody in this room has had a talk about how you're supposed to react with the police or how you're supposed to react to a certain situation. And none of my white friends ever have to have that speech. And it's just like, it's not fair. And I know life's not fair, but it's just, at the end of the day, if my son gets killed because a police officer think that he has a weapon, but it's a comb or a brush or it's his cell phone, that's what scares me. Like, I don't want to go to my son's funeral at 16, 18, 20, 25, or any age. I don't want to see my child die.
Yeah.
But that might happen, and that's what's scary.
And I mean, it showed to us, like even in like pop culture, like if you look at like the Fresh Prince, when Carlton and Will got pulled over, like you like at the end of that episode, I don't know if you guys remember that.
Oh, I know that episode when they were taking a man's car to Florida.
Yeah.
Yep.
And at the end of the episode, because Jerry just sounded just like Carlton, like, Dad, it's not because I'm black. It's because like we were driving his car or whatever. It's like
no.
It's like we fit. It's like no, like it's that realization right there is like is when it hits you. Like it's just like oh, like I am black and this is the effect, and it's like a lifetime sentence too, because it's like until it changes, it's like you always got to deal with that. Like and it's sad because I do like I'm gonna have to have that conversation with my son, and it's a thought that I had. My mom and my dad had to have that conversation with me. And like obviously it's important because it's on a lot of TV shows. Even if you look at Family Matters, when they pulled over Eddie, I think And Carl Winslow he was a cop, and he had to yell at the other cop for pulling his son over. So it's like it's been shown to
Oh
us
yeah.
in pop
I remember
culture,
that
like
one.
that is like it happens, and it's just like we fit the description even if we don't. We got Bloomberg, who he was a presidential candidate, and it was recordings of him saying like put a black or brown person from age 16 to 25 on a wanted poster, and I bet they fit the description. Like he said that. The mayor of New York, the biggest city in the world, like said that. Like put them on the poster, and I bet they fit the description. Like it's like we got as a black male, and I mean I'm not taking anything away from the sisters because I know they have their struggles as well. But as a black male, it's like the target is on us like all the time, from like our own people, from like the police, from teachers that label us as a bad kid, from like everything. It's like we can't make mistakes that our white friends made. Like we can't go and slip up. I got friends like we all went to school in McMahon, we're really diverse. They were able to make mistakes in their life and do things, and it's just written off like as adolescents. But us, if we make those same mistakes, then we're
It's gonna follow us to when there's down the line. All of a sudden, when you were 16-year-old, you was a thug.
Yep.
For cheating on a test in high school.
Yo, when I tell you that rubbed me the wrong way so bad. And it's like I pray I'm never in a situation like that. Because and it's not even like everybody who knows me like knows I have like a little temper problem, but it's not even about that. Honestly, no. It's really not even about that. There's a certain level that I think a racist like encounter would unlock in me. Like,
oh yeah,
it's like, cause I've never been attacked in that manner, like being called a nigger or being called like you know just in that light. I've never been in that situation, so I don't know how I will respond to that. And it's like, I really, really don't want to be labeled as a, like, oh, now you're proving my point. You're a black man. It's deeper than that, bro. It's like you're questioning my essence. You don't know me. You know my skin color, and you're literally assuming who I am as a being because of my color. And that is not who I am. Go ahead, Jared.
And that's what's even more scary, because somebody can say something racist to you, but then you can't be mad because you'll just be the angry black male.
Yo, Terry
and
Crews.
That's what sucks.
Terry Crews, when Terry Crews talked about him being sexually assaulted or whatever, he was like he wanted to punch the dude in the face, but he couldn't because he was like then he'd be labeled the black guy. This dude like just assault, like he said the guy grabbed his stuff, and he was like he went in front of his wife, and he said, "Yo, I wanted to punch this dude and everything, but I couldn't because if I did, then I'd just be like labeled the angry black guy." And it's just
which
like
is crazy, but it's valid.
Yeah,
because literally you walk into a room, black is the first thing you notice.
Right.
And I'm not even just talking about the color of people in the room. I'm talking about if you go to an event and it's hosted by black people, or the event is for a majority black people, you feel the essence of the environment.
And you feel so much comfortable. You feel way more comfortable.
Can I tell you, yo, that is so true. You feel so comfortable. But then if you walk in a room not saying like you shouldn't feel this way, but if you walk into a room full of people of Caucasian descent, you get really nervous because you feel like they're judging you. And like it's like you're like you want to leave. Like I know that feeling. Like it sucks.
What I was saying though, going to Terry Crews, I actually do want to point like that. With Terry's, it's more than just a black and white thing. Like the person who did it was like a top producer in Hollywood. And so like it's with that situation, I'm leaning towards the power ranking in Hollywood and just not trying to be blackballed and not trying to be like trying to have a job and become an actor, like because this was a couple years ago. So Terry Crews wasn't Terry Crews.
Even in his thinking there, he still has to factor in his blackness because
no, I'm not saying he doesn't. I'm just shedding light on the other part of that too, in that particular instance. But it's but that also goes to show there's not a lot of black people in Hollywood to begin with.
And that was going to be my point.
Power, yeah.
That was going to be my point, because literally, if he felt that there was another option for him, he probably would have been able to then go through with it. But being that black people are so limited in opportunity already, he felt like he couldn't jeopardize it, and that's a problem in itself.
And I think the problem is too is that we gotta really, and we said this before, but we gotta like really support our own, because we're so hard on ourselves, man. When it comes to stuff, like I hear more complaints about the BET Awards than I do about the Oscars, and yeah, the Oscars do have the Oscars. They do get more money, and there is less like flaws in it. But to me, the only award shows that I could watch is the BET Awards or the Soul Train Awards, because everything else they play music that I really don't listen to. Not to say I don't appreciate it, but I really don't listen to it. I do watch the Oscars and stuff because movies, but like music awards, like the Grammys, is like I kind of like only want to see who won a hip hop and R&B. In my opinion, album of the year, if like somebody who I know is up for it. But other than that, it's like I kind of like tune out. But we complain so much about BET. We complain so much about Tyler Perry movies. And yeah, I'm not saying that they're great. And they could be a lot better, but I think we gotta like support them so that they could get better. If we don't support them, they're not gonna get the money. They're not gonna get people to buy into it for it to really like get better quality. Yeah, Tyler Perry movies aren't the best, but if we support him, he's a black guy doing something who's showing quality content.
And he can branch to something else, to somebody else.
Yep. And honestly, that's my thing, Dean, right there. My thing with Tyler Perry is this man now has the full capability, not saying he doesn't, but he has the full capability to hire more black writers and more content creators for his stuff. So people won't feel that way about his stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, we just need more people in Tyler Perry's position, period. Yeah. Honestly. Because like Tyler Perry is like one executive who has Tyler Perry Studios and everything like that, but you know, Spike Lee has his thing going on and stuff like that, and you have like F. Gary Gray and some of these prominent producers. But to every one black person like that, there's probably 20 people or 20 white people in Hollywood for that one black person. Yeah. So it's like we just got to continue to put ourselves in those positions to even hire more black creators or more black writers.
And the thing too,
like specifically black writers,
like Dean was saying, with the good and bad. A good, like we talked about, going to streaming services and everything, a good that might come out of it is that now it might be easier for a black producer to get his movie out to people, because most of the movies are going to like straight to streaming services and everything. And you don't have to have like a big production like suite to put your content out there, because now it's going straight to consumer and you don't have to deal with like movie theaters and things like that. So this might be a plus for black creatives to really get out there, just like music. I mean, now there's more black artists owning their music than ever before because of the streaming services.
Facts. Yeah, man.
We got like 2 minutes left.
Facts. So this was a pretty great conversation. Jalen, I want to thank you again for joining us and giving your insight.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me, man.
But you know, you're always welcome. You know, we got some plans for the future. We're not gonna talk about those yet, but we'll have Jalen back in the short term, near future. For Jim, Tim, that's my boy. That's why I call him Jim, and Jarrett. This is another episode of Mike on Fire, and we appreciate you tuning in.
Yes, sir.
Until next time.